Hello, this is Hervé from Comic Book Bin, filling in since 2002. We're going to be looking at Dreadnok Torch. Torch is the last of the original Dreadnoks, besides Zartan, that came in the G.I. Joe American Hero line. He's from 1985. Each of the Dreadnoks has a lot of original parts. That's the name of the game with Dreadnoks. But you can see with Torch that the Hasbro team decided to streamline and simplify his design. And some of the design choices I agree with, some I don't. So let's look at him further. Some of the changes to his design include an additional gun holster on his thigh instead of just a pack with gear and stuff. They also gave him chains on his arms and flame tattoos that probably cover existing burns that he has. Now his flamethrower backpack is different than the original, which makes me think that it's going to be reused for Blowtorch later, or even Ice Cream Soldier or the Heat Vipers. He still sports those sunglasses. You'll notice that one of the design change Hasbro made is that you cannot remove the sunglasses from Torch's face. To some extent, it's easier as you won't lose a part, unlike the other Dreadnoks where they keep falling down all the time. But at the same time, it limits your figure in terms of styling and so on. He still has this bandana on his head and his signature beard mustache. He still wears a leather jacket and he still has a leather collar on his neck. He looks almost like the original of all the Dreadnoks. The biggest change to Torch are his boots. They reuse Mindbender's boots entirely here. Also the thighs, not the trunk though. So the boots he had in the past had studded parts in the calves. These boots are slimmer, they don't have that, but they are high boots and they're exactly the same ones that Mindbender wears. They shop at the same place, they look the same, maybe they're related, who knows. I haven't checked the other Dreadnoks to see if their legs had been reused from other characters, but I do know that Torch, from the thighs to the toes, is a complete reuse of Dr. Mindbender. Again, it's Hasbro sculpting magic, if you want to call it like that, where they're able to mask reuse to such extent. Obviously, the torso is from Dr. Mindbender's. The arms are not. They're from some other figure. I don't think that Hasbro will have to release a classic retro version of Torch. This one is pretty much, very much like the old Torch. There's not much that changes, so any of the updates would not require another figure. Having said that, the sculpt looks great in proportion, even though he has longer and different type of boots right now. Like most Hasbro action figures, the base plastic is the base color of the figure. They tend to avoid using paint, so you'll see paint on the arm, the tattoos, the flame tattoos, obviously on his head. The hair appear to be the same piece and not something that was glued on. They really cut corners here. The one part where they did not cut corners is that they gave him the studded neck collar, and this is not a piece that you can remove. This is sculpted with the neck. I'm not sure with whom they can use this part in the future, but here it is, a new neck part for a classified action figure. Like I mentioned, the torso is exactly the same as Mindbender's and a few other figures. I believe the other Dreadnoks. In terms of scale, he scales pretty well with the other Dreadnoks. There's nothing to say here. Is Torch stable? To some extent, yeah. To some extent, no. Why? Because his backpack is very top heavy. If you remove the backpack, he'll be very stable and he won't topple. But if you put back the backpack, you'll have problems. So you'll have to arrange the figure. That's a bummer. It's not easy for him. The articulations are the same. Everything is pinless on Torch. Well, he's reusing so many parts from other figures that by now should have pinless everything. His neck is a new part. It moves. So can do the attitude, can look up, can look down, side to side of the two, like I mentioned. He can do that. His neck moves, but it's not as mobile as other neck parts that I've seen in the past. Can raise his shoulders pretty well, 90 degrees. He has double elbow articulation. They're very smooth. Swivels at the bicep, can move and rotate his wrist, not any issue. The one issue I will say is that it's not easy to pause him holding the weapon like that. He should use both hands, but it's not easy to make him use both hands. He does have butterfly, but his jacket will stop you from closing in for him to hold the flamethrower with both hands. It's very difficult to make him do that, fortunately. If you want to pause him using the weapon, maybe you could try by having his, in my case, the left hand holding the flamethrower first and then inserting the flamethrower in his right hand. The weapon is so gummy that it will actually stay. Having said that, the hands are also very gummy. In a sense, the gumminess helps with him holding the weapon, flamethrower, but it limits how you can pause the guy with his weapon. Doesn't look so good holding it. His waist moves really well. well, although his ab crunch are hidden behind the vest. He can do the split pretty well. The double knee articulation work very well also. The ankles and so on, they move quite well. There's no problem there. He's a bit wobbly on the waist, so you might have to watch out for that a bit. He's made of PVC, but he seems very soft all over. Like I mentioned, his fingers are extremely soft. I don't know what durometer they use there. And the weapon itself is extremely flimsy and extremely soft. It does help to move it around a bit if you want to pause the figure and so on, but it feels very cheap. Now the props. Well, the flamethrower has a skull already embedded in it with a fire effect. There's a puff like fire effect, but if you want to stabilize the figure more, one of the longer fire effect might help give him more stability. The mileage may vary. He comes with 2 pistols that go in the holster. Now the holster on his thighs are extremely loose. These are very flimsy, very loose. They will fall or they will flip over if you're not careful with them. So be careful when arranging them. It's not optimal here. The flame effects are cool. I suppose we're going to be seeing those flame effects come with blowtorch very soon. They're translucent plastic. They're good. Nothing to say here. Torch came with the new packaging, which that streamlined Marvel Legends, G.I. Joe Classified, and other Hasbro properties. Torch is the same price as regular Hasbro action figures, so currently it's at $25 USD, $34 to $36 Canadian. I've noticed that the Dreadnoks who were released just a few months ago are already on discount on Amazon, so you may want to wait before getting Torch. He's not the most popular character, and his quality and the originality of the build is not to the same extent as the previous Dreadnoks, Ripper and Buzzer. He doesn't have as much reused part as Naga Hide, but he still has half of his body which was reused, if not more, if you count the torso and the arms. I guess you could say 70% of his body was reused. So if you're patient, you could wait just a few months and you'll find Torch to be on discount very soon. He's not the most popular Dreadnok. He's a must-have, obviously, because if you have Dreadnoks, he's just a core Dreadnoks. But you can wait on him. He should be available everywhere where you can find action figures. So yeah, I like him. He's not that special. He's a bit of a downgrade in terms of design compared to the other Dreadnoks, where Hasbro really poured a lot more effort to give us original parts. Here, he's reusing a bit more. His weapons are probably going to be reused. So this is how Hasbro is attempting to maximize the cost of those action figures to give us more diversity, more different characters, while reusing as many parts as they can. Often this works. Sometimes it works to a lesser extent. It's okay. Torch is still a good figure. It's up to you to decide if you want him. I got him. I'm not regretting it. He's a Dreadnok. If we could only get a Thunder Machine or something where all the Dreadnoks could hang out, that would be sweet. This is Hervé from Comic Book Bin, filling you in since 2002. Like and subscribe.